Welcome on into a weeknight edition of Picks and Roll live edition. Live from the iHeart studio, I am Joe Tanzi. Live from his humble abode, Sean Bernard. We have two important basketball games tonight in the NBA. A lot of exciting talk about this. I keep calling it the play-in tournament, the in-season tournament.
Mhm.
Two quarterfinals tonight. The Knicks and the Bucks, the Suns and the Lakers. Two big games. Winner in the East takes on the Pacers. Winner in the West gets the Pelicans. And we're here to break it all down for you tonight. Player props, sides, whatever you want for the next 20 minutes. Myself and Sean have everything covered. First of all, Sean, last night, Tyrese Halliburton. I mean, incredible. I mean, there's nothing else to say about him at this point, right?
Yeah, it was incredible. I can't believe that was the first triple-double of his career. Feels like that he's been at least knocking on it forever. So cool to see him get that. That was also the only the second national game that he's ever had broadcasted, which is a crime for the talent that he is. But I think there's going to be two extra good games tonight as well. That a little bit of the higher ticket team names and player names for this one. But I love the energy last night. I love the effort level. We're seeing kind of the vision of the in-season tournament. People are talking about the NBA in the month of November or in the month of December. That is a victory without it being Christmas yet. So I was thrilled with the matchups yesterday. I thought that Pacers game was especially fun to watch, and I do think we're gonna get two good ones again tonight. So excited to chop it up, talk about all the betting angles of everything, and ready to dive into it.
See, as a soccer guy here, I'm all about these in-season tournaments, but it's different for me because it's not just the 32 Premier League teams or whatever it may be. They're actual new teams. So for me, the concept of it got a little lost in the sauce to start, but I'm starting to warm up to it. And I think that the big game nature of it and the way we saw last night's games go down. Also, got to give credit to the Pelicans as well.
Oh yeah.
For taking care of the Kings. But it's nice to see new faces. I think that for me is the biggest thing. Seeing the Pacers and seeing the Pelicans in high profile games means the most to me. It's not just the same teams. I like that. Now, a little bit different tonight, but it's good to see at least one different team in each conference. So let's dive right in. The Knicks and Bucks. This is the first elimination game, knockout style game that Damian Lillard and Giannis Antetokounmpo are going to play together against the Knicks. They've already played once this season. The Knicks and Bucks have. What do you got on this? What are the keys here in this matchup in the East?
Yeah, this is one that I'm excited for. I think this is going to be the highlight. I think both games are going to be good tonight, but me personally, that I have a little bit of a preference towards these Eastern Conference foes. I'm leaning the Knicks for this one. That they're coming in. I've seen the spread move around a little bit, 4.5 up to 5.5. Last I checked, it was sitting at 4.5. I've seen 5 in there as well. The thing that I feel about the Knicks that I think gets kind of misinterpreted and stuff is they're such a high floor team that they're just solid. Tom Thibodeau is going to have them ready to play. They're very much a team that overperforms in the regular season, doesn't quite have the top end talent for the postseason. There's no doubt that the Bucks have more top end talent when comparing these two rosters, but they also just haven't quite gelled in the way that I think we all expected it to happen. They're still, as they currently sit, they are 24th in points allowed on the season. I think the Knicks are going to have a little bit of their way offensively, and the Knicks are just a bruising team that they'll wear you down, they'll beat on you, they play physical, they play tough. Jalen Brunson captaining the ship, running the show there. They got a lot of talent around the edges that I'm excited about. So I feel good about the Knicks in this one, coming off 3 wins in a row. The Bucks are still kind of fully finding their stride. It's going to be cool to see Giannis and Dame in this setting. I think they kind of need this as a little bit of a wake-up call and finding the stride. But I'm leaning towards the Knicks on this one for sure.
Is there anything we could take away from that first game? I know it was November 3rd, so it feels a long time ago in terms of where we stand in the NBA season, but anything from the Knicks side that maybe they've seen this Dame Giannis combo, obviously not a finished product, but they see it at least up in front in person?
Yeah, I don't take too much away from it just because I feel like the Bucks are a drastically different team from that point, that they're still learning on a game in and game out basis. The thing that I think the Knicks can exploit the most today is in the pick and roll. That there's schematically the Bucks have dropped drastically for a while there. They were last in the league in pick and roll defense. It's gotten a little bit better from that. But Brook Lopez being forced to play less drop coverage than he's accustomed to. And they have a guy like Mitchell Robinson, who's an awesome lob threat. Jalen Brunson's a guy who I trust as the decision maker to drive things there. So I think we're going to see a lot of heavy pick and roll from the Knicks side of things. I'm curious what the Bucks answer for that. And also from the coaching standpoint, I feel a lot more confident about Tom Thibodeau in this situation than I do about Adrian Griffin. I've not been impressed with what I've seen from Griffin so far. And tonight's going to be a big stage for him to try and change my mind on that.
Who's the one guy on each side that is the most important? I know the obvious answer might be Dame or Giannis on the Bucks side, but who are the most important guys on each side if the Knicks win, this guy performs well. If the Bucks win, it's this guy that performs well.
Yeah, the headliners steal the show, but for me, for the Bucks, I'm going to go with Brook Lopez here. That he's a guy that I think is very important to what that team does on both sides of the floor. On the offensive end, that he's a guy very comfortable and efficient as a three-point shooter, despite being 7 feet tall. He allows Giannis to be able to attack the paint in the way that he wants to, be physical in the way. There's very few players built like him. Brook Lopez is very much a one-of-one. When he's playing well, the Bucks typically are. So I think he can space the floor. And defensively, as I mentioned, I think he's going to get tested in that pick and roll coverage. If he can hold up and hold his own in this, I think it fares well for the Bucks. And then on the other side of things, for the Knicks, there's two guys I'll include here. Number one, Jalen Brunson is the captain of the ship for me, that this team goes as he goes. And he is a guy that I feel is a winner. He's a proven winner. He's a guy that raises his game in big moments. To look at his playoff numbers in the 21-22 season, averaged 16.3 points per game in the regular season, this being with the Dallas Mavericks, bumped that up to 21.6 points per game in the playoffs. And then last year, 24.0 points per game in the regular season, bumped up to 27.8 in the playoffs. So I do think that he's a guy that raises up for big moments. We're going to see that put on full display. And the other guy I'll throw in is Emmanuel Quickley, that he's very much trusted as this change of pace off the bench. He's playing really good basketball this year. I feel like Thibodeau's starting to trust him a little more. Minutes still a little bit down from last year, but the past 3 games, 23 points, 18 points, 20 points, they really give him the freedom to go run that second unit, be the engine of the offense, and for the most part, he's delivering on it. So that's the other guy that I'll throw in the mix.
Jalen Brunson has the second highest player prop in points tonight at 27.5 at DraftKings Sportsbook. Giannis 29.5, Damian Lillard 26.5, and Julius Randle 21.5. I feel like that's a low number for a guy. Maybe we can take advantage of that for a guy that kind of has to show up in a game like this, knowing we're most likely going to see the Dame and Giannis show in this one. We'll get to bets in a second. Suns Lakers. Look, there's really no introduction you need to make for this one. You know who the stars are on both sides. Give me the same thing from the East game. One player on each side. I'm going to make it a little harder for you. Not LeBron or AD and not KD.
Okay.
Who are the guys on each side that need to step up tonight?
All right, so excluding the stars with this one, as far as guys and as you mentioned, we know the stars are going to be in full effect. Cool that we are getting this superstar showdown, that these teams have already played each other twice this year. The Lakers getting the better of it in both those matchups, but Devin Booker was not on the floor for either one of those matchups. So a very different story with him in the lineup for this one. If I'm excluding the stars for who makes the biggest difference, for the Suns, I'm going to throw it to Eric Gordon. I've been really impressed with how much he seems to have left in the tank. I kind of thought this was an over-the-hill guy, but it doesn't seem that way. He's still got some pep in his step. He's got some shot creation ability in a way that he hasn't really been asked to do for most of his career. For the most part, he's been pretty much purely a spot-up shooter. Played well for the Clippers last year, too. But he's been a guy that is a secondary scoring option when these stars are off the court. I would not be surprised if he gets his number called a little bit more than people were expecting. So I like Eric Gordon from the Suns' perspective there. And from the Lakers, I'm going to go D'Angelo Russell here. He sneakily had a very good season. His shooting numbers have looked really impressive, but he's a guy that can shoot you in or out of a game. So if D'Angelo Russell has it going, it's going to fare well for the Lakers. If he doesn't, I don't expect him to be any less willing with his shooting mindset and just getting shots up. So D'Angelo Russell's a guy that I'll be watching from the Lakers side of things, and Eric Gordon from the Suns.
Some of these guys that you've mentioned have something in common that I like to bet on is 3 points.
Yep.
Is 3-point shooters. So you're hitting a soft spot in my heart here. Real quick, at DraftKings Sportsbook, you have any bet boosted for 25% on the play-in games tonight. Or playing games, in-season games. I keep messing up the two. I'm so used to the play-in tournament, not an in-season tournament. So between the Knicks and Bucks and the Suns and Lakers, let's start off with our bets for the Bucks and the Knicks. I know there's a guy that you mentioned already coming off the bench for the Knicks that you really like tonight. So I'll start there. I know you like Emmanuel Quickley.
Yeah, I do. The 12.5 for his scoring total tonight for me feels like a great bet, that he is being trusted to be that engine of the second unit, that he's playing with a little more freedom than I think we've seen for most of his NBA career, and he is scoring it up in a hurry. That on a season, 15.4 points per game, pretty comfortably over that number there. Also averaging 3.1 rebounds, 2.8 assists, shooting just 43.7% from the field, but he's getting up 12.1 shot attempts per game. If you're going to get a guy that you know you're getting 12 shots out of, I feel pretty good about that number in that 12.5. And even if you want to go a little higher, I'd be as comfortable with him clearing that 15-point margin if you want to play with some alternative numbers there. So I do like Immanuel Quickley. To just dive into the full slate, as I mentioned, I am on the Knicks plus 5.5. That I think this is going to be a game, and I think the Knicks have a real chance of winning this matchup. So for me, the 5.5 feels too large. I think this is going to be one that comes down to the wire and a bruising, hard-fought game. Give me the 5.5 for the underdog there. And the last one, we touched on this guy as well. Jalen Brunson, over 36.5. I'm going to go with the points, rebounds, and assists for this number. That he's a guy that I feel like finds a way to put his fingerprints on the game even when the shots aren't falling. So I like adding in the rebounds and assists there. He's very capable as a playmaker. I do think he's going to be forced to make a ton of decisions in the pick and roll, which could boost those numbers. And even being very slight of size as far as how tall he is, he still gets in the mix for rebounds and hunts some boards. So throw that in. I like the over 36.5 for the points, rebounds, and assists there.
I'm getting the weeds a little bit with this game. So I know the first matchup, there's a lot that have changed in a month, but there are two guys that stand out to me immediately in three-point shooting from this first Knicks and Bucks matchup. That's Quentin Grimes and Brook Lopez. And I know this sounds disgusting because this game is going to be all about the stars, but there's going to be role players here that have to make a few shots. I think especially early as the teams feel each other out, I think Brunson versus Lillard is going to be a fun matchup to watch. And I would not be surprised if the Knicks kind of put one or maybe more than one guy on Giannis and make him pass out and make other guys beat him. And look, if that doesn't work, it doesn't work. But I don't think they're going to let Giannis beat them right away. So I look at this. So Grimes' role has really decreased since that game. He's only playing around 20 minutes per game. So he's not going to make the 5. He might not even be on the floor to attempt 5 3-point shots for the entire game because Josh Hart has cut into his minutes. DiVincenzo, I think, gets a little run. Even though Tibbs only goes, 8-9 deep, you're going to see a lot of Quickley. You're going to see a lot of Josh Hart and probably DiVincenzo as well. But to get this game started, I think you see a guy like Grimes or Brook Lopez who can knock down a 3, maybe 2, and get momentum going on your side before the stars begin to take over. So I'm going to take the risk here, Sean.
Okay.
First quarter points. Brook Lopez over 2.5. Quentin Grimes over 1.5.
Wow.
I'm literally just asking for a 3-point shot to be made in the first, 6 to 7 minutes before the bench guys come off. I'm taking the stab here because I do think the Stars are going to take them probably a few minutes to play themselves into the game. There's going to be open looks for the other guys on the floor. And if they can knock them down, look, 3-point shot, or in Grimes' case, a layup ends up getting us this bet. Quentin Grimes, his over 1.5 threes is set at plus 140. I'm going to take that as well with Brook Lopez's threes. It's minus 195. It's a little juicy, but I'm also going to take his alt. I'm going to take 3 threes. If we've been doing this for a while here at the Gambler, and Brook Lopez is one of the guys that has a soft spot in my heart. So I'm looking at those guys. I'm looking at the depth guys. Somebody has to step up. I like your move with Quickley as well. I think he's going to play a huge role in this game. And the other one I like is Giannis assists. So I think Damian Lillard scores more in this game. I think he might be the top point scorer. It's his first big game with the Bucks. He's going to take over at some point. It's kind of just human nature. And not that Giannis is going to take a back seat, but I feel like there's going to be some points in the game where he's dishing out to the outside. Giannis is, and ends up being the passer instead of the scorer. So that's why I like Giannis over 5.5 assists. I'm actually going to sprinkle on his 8 assists as well, because I think this is going to be a faster pace game once things get going. And Giannis is coming off a triple-double, first triple-double of the season for him. And he's gotten at least 5 assists over the last few weeks. He's hitting that 5-6 mark. And I think in a game like tonight where it's either him or Dame that are doing the scoring, and I think personally, it's going to be Dame. I think they're going to try and clog the middle a little bit. I'm going to take Giannis as more of a facilitator tonight with his assists.
Yeah, I like that. And another guy we kind of touched on, but I'll throw into the mix here is Josh Hart. Kind of the same thing.
A lot of people like him tonight.
And with the 3-pointers, you can get him for just one. He's at minus 210 for that. You can get the alternate at plus 200 for 2 threes for him. It feels like Josh Hart is always the guy to hit that back-breaking 3-pointer. Like he hits big shots for this Knicks team. He's not the most willing shooter. He will pass up on some looks, but I do feel like when things are going right for the Knicks, that he's the guy hitting those big-time shots. So I don't mind a little sprinkle on over 1.5 at plus 200 for Josh Hart there. That's something I would keep my eye on too.
So on to the Suns and the Lakers. I think this one more than anything, that the big guns are going to be out. You're going to see Durant. You're going to see Booker. But the one guy that really interests me in terms of where these lines are is D'Angelo Russell. I know you mentioned him earlier. There's going to have to be a third guy on either team, whether it be Eric Gordon or someone else. Maybe Nurk gets involved a little bit, but there's got to be a third guy involved. It can't just be the two guys on each side scoring a ton of points. There's got to be something in terms of variety. Is it Austin Reeves? Is it Eric Gordon? Who is it? To me, I think with D'Angelo Russell, he's the guy to look out for because he's going to be on the floor with AD and LeBron the most. At least he's getting 30-some minutes. And like you said, he's a guy that isn't afraid. Let's just say that to chuck up some shots. He went 6 of 12 for 19 points and 6 of 16 for 14 points against the Suns. His over-under on points tonight is 13.5. I'm actually going to use our DraftKings profit boost on that to boost it down to -112, get us a more favorable number. I think D'Angelo Russell is in for a pretty decent. I'm not going to say he's going to be the top scorer, but I think in a game like this where you need an extra scorer, D'Angelo Russell is your guy.
Yeah, I totally agree there. And I actually like that point total even more than the 3-pointers. I was originally looking at the 3-pointers, but over 1.5 at -166 is a little juiced up. On the season, he's averaging over 17 points per game, 17.1 to be exact there. And he's shooting the ball really well. That an effective field goal percentage of 57.2%. That's near a career high for him. From beyond the 3-point arc specifically, 40.9% on the year, and that's with 5.5 attempts per game. And this isn't something out of the norm because last season shot 40.4% as well. So shooting at a very high level, more so than he gets credit for. As we mentioned, he is a guy that will shoot you in or out of games, and he will not be afraid of the moment. So I feel good about him getting those attempts up. I like that 13.5 number a lot.
I'm going to go to a play actually I took in the first game as well. I'm going to take a sprinkle on Russell's over 3.5 first quarter points as well. Look, we know this is a guy that's not afraid to shoot. We see it from the evidence from the two Suns games. And maybe this is me thinking a little too out of the box in this type of situation. But I think a first quarter port angle is something to keep an eye on. With Russell's case, it's 3.5 points. So look, only 4 in about 7-8 minutes realistically. With a guy of his shot volume, wouldn't put it past him. So yeah, I'm gonna take this first quarter points angle and run with the three guys I really like tonight with Lopez, Grimes, and Russell. And you guys can all laugh at me when all the stars end up having terrific nights. So yeah, that's that's an angle I want to run with. I'm kind of supporting the depth guys tonight in a game where a lot of the stars will get a lot of the attention.
Yeah, I like that. And I'll jump out on a little bit of a star pick here from a little bit of a different angle. I like the Devin Booker over 7.5 assists tonight. This has been one of my biggest takeaways from watching the Suns. I've been really impressed with Booker as a playmaker. That it feels like they're very much running an offense without a true point guard, and it's been Booker being the guy to step up and take those reins. He's absolutely delivered. He's had over the 7.5 assists in 6 of the 11 games that he's played in this season. And when you look at his assist totals, he's had 15 in a game, 13 a game, 8, 10. He is getting high numbers with him. I think it's going to be a night where we see a lot of the Kevin Durant versus LeBron, and Booker becomes a little bit of a guy to take the back seat. I think he's going to take that in stride, be more effective playmaker, and still help this Suns team. So I like Devin Booker from the assist angle there. And then as far as the side goes, I really like the Suns tonight. That I do think this is going to be a thrilling matchup. I know that the Lakers have beat them twice already this year, but the Suns have won 8 of their last 11 games and 6 of their last 10 against the Lakers. And as I mentioned, both those losses to the Lakers were without Devin Booker on the court. So a very different story with him here. This is going to be a fun one. I like the Suns that you can get them at even money, so feel good about that. So yeah, I'm riding with the Suns as well.
So let's do a quick recap here of our plays. I'm the disgusting one. Sean, you haven't done many shows with me, but you'll learn very quickly that I'm the disgusting prop guy.
Okay.
We find some money in the very muddy parts of these games. So
All counts the same.
All counts the same, exactly. So I'm on Brook Lopez over 2.5 first quarter points, over 2.5 first quarter points for Brook Lopez, over 1.5 threes for Quentin Grimes, over 1.5 threes as well for Brook Lopez. And I'm on Grimes over 1.5 first quarter points. I really hope he scores the first basket. Wouldn't that be? You got to clip this if he scores like the first basket. Like,
100%.
well, we want to bet. That's the easiest way to win one. If Quentin Grimes scores, let's say within the first 3 minutes.
I love it.
That prop tonight.
Yeah, I love it. I'll be riding with the Quentin Grimes. I do love me some Quentin Grimes as well. And just to
he's a guy where if he's hot, he's on. He's on the entire night. His 3-point shooters are always like that. But there are guys in the league, and they're across the league, and these are the guys I usually gravitate to. D'Lo is one of them as well, where if they're on, watch out. But if they're off, pray you can maybe get like 1-3 in.
Yeah, that is how it goes with a lot of these guys. And Grimes is a guy who can defend. So Thibs does give him a little bit more of a leash because of that. So all we need is a basket there. And just to run through recap mine. So I do like the Knicks plus 5.5. I don't think it's bad to sprinkle on the money line. I do really think that they have a chance in this game, and I honestly lean toward the Knicks getting the win. But I'm gonna still lay the 5.5 and just give myself a little bit of wiggle room there. Also, like Jalen Brunson over 36.5 points, rebounds, and assists there, and Emmanuel Quickly over 12.5 points. That's probably my favorite play out of the three in that matchup. And then for the late game, I like Devin Booker over 7.5 assists and the Suns money line for that matchup.
I love it. Lopez, Grimes, Giannis assists, and D'Lo points and first quarter points. If we make out of these games as rich men, Sean Bernard, we have to do this again.
That's
on
right.
Friday for the semifinals. Or was it Thursday?
Thursday, and then Saturday's championship.
Thursday. So we'll do it. We can do it Thursday once again here on. We're calling it Picks and Roll Live for right now. It might have a different name come the end of the season, but you'll see a lot more streams here on the Gambler Twitter account between myself, Sean Bernard, and NBA. Ryan Coyle is going to hop in on college hoops as well. A busy slate pretty much every day of the week now until we get into March. So we hope you guys can join in for us at least a few nights a week here on the Gambler for a bunch of NBA and college hoops breakdowns. But for tonight, that's Sean Bernard. I am Joe Tanzi. Good luck on all your plays. And hopefully, we're talking about winners come Thursday.